Hello, dual enrollment painting. This video is to go over our first major project of the semester, which is our geometric grid painting. And in this video, you see I have a setup where in the top left, I've got a camera pointing down, showing you what my hands are doing, and then which I will eventually make full screen. But right now, I just wanted to also for you to be able to see me. And also over here, I've got Canvas because I want to show you where I'm looking and what we're going to be doing today. So I'm going to go over here to Canvas, click on Modules, and I'm going to go to the color mixing presentation and grid painting. So we've already done the first part of this slideshow, but I want to take you to the next part. So I'm going to open that up and we're going to look through and just recap what we have already done. So last week we learned about the basics of paint and the basics of color and the tools. And today we're going to actually use that to create artwork. So you should have already done your value scale and your temperature scale. So the value scales and the temperature scales are pretty easy. And if you did another one beyond that, it would count as extra credit. So what we're going to do today is talk about our first project, our first major project. So the medium is going to be acrylic, and it says create a geometric artwork that begins with a grid that allows you to explore color mixing and creating custom tertiary and neutral color. Now, tertiary has the prefix for three, the T-E-R-T. That's the word that's the prefix for three. Oops, I'm gonna turn off my alerts here. There we go. And tertiary colors mean that they have at least three ingredients in them. So that could be white, black, blue, or it could be yellow, green, orange. But you're mixing colors together to create more custom colors than you would get just in the rainbow. So it might be like a grayish yellow or a maroon or a turquoise. And this artist, Paul Clay, is someone that we'll be looking at throughout this unit. And in this painting down here that's called May Picture, you can see he has like a loose grid structure under there, almost like he penciled the grid in without a ruler, and it's kind of a wavy grid. You could do that, or if you want to use a ruler, you can. But we're going to start with a 1-inch grid. So I am going to go back to the view where you can see both. All right. There we go. All right. So this says, first you want to start with a gessoed chipboard. So gesso, remember, is that white paint that I gave you. You'll be able to identify which jar it is by I painted a little swatch of white on the top. So my board is already gessoed. It's about the same size as the ones that you'll be doing. And I'm going to create a 1-inch grid. Now you could do this with tape or you could do this with pencil lines. I'm going to show you how to do it with pencil lines right now. So if you remember back to our color mixing exercises, you want to have a ruler and a pencil, and we're going to do the 1-inch hatch mark. So here I am starting at 0, 1. I'm actually going to pin this video so you can see bigger. There we go. All right, so now you can see my screen, what my hands are doing a little bigger. I'm making hatch marks along the way. So this is going to help me create my grid. Okay, then I'm going to do it on the other side, and the reason for this is I want to be able to connect the hatch marks on both sides so that I can make a perfect grid. All right. And this is just going to be the beginning of my painting. I don't have to stick with the grid the whole way. There's going to be things that I do that might disrupt it later. But right now, I just want to give myself a grid to paint some squares, and this is going to be kind of fun. If you feel like these 1-inch squares are really little and you'd like to try like 1.5-inch squares, that would be fine as well. But the idea is you want to create this checkerboard kind of pattern on your, oops, I just got orange on my painting. Didn't mean to do that. My cat almost walked on my paints too when I was getting set up. That would have been bad. Okay, so again, 1, 2. Whenever you start your ruler, make sure you have the 0 lined up with the edge of the board. That's a easy thing to forget. If you ever get like a little bit of paint on your board before you start, I really don't think you should stress about it because you're going to add so much paint later that, you know, you might as well just get it started. All right. Don't be too precious with it. Have fun. All right, so I'm going to quickly go here and do my grid. And then I'm going to have a nice horizontal and vertical structure to create my painting on. Okay, so make sure you're lining up the hatch marks on both sides, and then you can make your grid pretty quickly. One thing I'm thinking about right now while I'm doing just the lines part is what kind of colors do I want to mix? And you'll notice on the palette to my left, I'm a left-handed artist, that's why everything is set up like this. I've got my pure colors along the side, and then I've got a lot of space to mix my colors. So the reason I didn't spread my pure colors from the tube out all over my palette is because this painting is all about mixing colors and creating things that are not straight from the tube, so I wanted to give myself a lot of space. You also might be wondering what's in that round dish that looks kind of like yogurt. Now that is the acrylic medium that I was telling you about. Now acrylic medium, remember, is not colored paint, does not have any color in it. So actually I'm gonna just take a little bit and show you. So if I went like that with my finger and I just spread it out, see it's totally clear, okay? So you can use that today. You could put some out in a little dish like I did. Another thing that might be around your house that you could use is like a lid. Like you could use like a lid for from a jar, and just turn the lid upside down and use it like a little tray. As you start to set up your paint area at home this semester, you're going to have to get a little bit creative with what tools you use. Some things you might be able to buy at the store. Some things you might have to use just what's around you. Like we talked about, if you don't have enough places to mix your colors on your palette, you get a plate. You get a paper plate, you get a tray, you know, use what you can. Oftentimes artists have to kind of improvise depending on what supplies they have. All right, last line, perfect. So I've got my grid, that wasn't so bad. And I'm going to get ready and start mixing some colors. So for brushes, you can see I've got some flat, some round. I really like the flat ones, and I even have this angled one. I'll hold that up to the camera. This angled one helps me get in the corners. So if you invest in some of your own brushes, think about getting a variety of sizes and shapes. It's kind of fun. Also, you'll notice that I have paper towel. Paper towel is important as a painter because you oftentimes want to wipe off your colors, wipe off your brush, and just overall control how the mixture is in your painting. So let's go ahead and look at step 3. It says begin by painting within the squares only. Each square must be a unique mixture and not a bottle color. Practice your tertiary colors, complementary tints, shades, tints, and tones. So I'm going to mix an example of all of those for you. So I'm going to use this brush. And when I mix my color, I'm just going to pull a little bit of the pure color to the side. And see how I'm kind of spinning my brush around? That kind of helps me get the paint off. Rinse off my brush. Okay, so tertiary color means I need to have 3 things in there. So I'm going to add a little bit of white to this green. Stir it around, stir it around. See, I'm making like a little pile for myself because I actually want to use this paint in more than just one square. Okay, so that's not a tertiary color yet. That's just a tint. So I'm going to make it, I want it to remain greenish, but what if I add a tiny bit of this yellowish brown? Just a little bit. remember one of your reflections that people wrote yesterday was like sometimes a little bit of a color goes a long way. Ooh, that's a pretty color. It's kind of like add a little bit more green back in. Okay, so I've got a nice liquidy and I'll add some of my medium in just to make it a little bit transparent. Okay, so my paint is like a nice kind of creamy texture. And I'm going to start by painting this color in a few of my boxes. I'm not going to just, because I made enough for it to be in a few places. And I'm not going to be too concerned right now about what my composition is, but I'm just going to experiment. So this could be a tint, right? So it's got white in it. It's got a secondary color, and then it's got a little bit of a third color in there. But it's a pretty light color. So whenever you hear the word tint, that means it's a light color. So if you went to like Home Depot or Ace Hardware and you were going to buy some paint to paint your room and you asked for a tint of purple, you'd be getting like a lighter purple, right? Okay, so I've got that color, maybe just a few more. I like this color a lot. And it doesn't have to be the only layer, because remember with acrylic painting, which is different than watercolor, you can really layer other colors on top. It's kind of fun. Start to experiment with how you arrange it. Kind of might look like pixels. So I'm gonna mix, so I'm looking at, okay, I needed to do a tertiary color, a complementary tint. Now, I've got orange here. So orange is a secondary color. Rinse off my brush. And I've got blue. So blue and orange are complements from each other. So I'm going to see what happens when I mix just a little bit of blue in with my orange. Oh, see, I get this kind of greenish brown. Okay, so that's my complementary tint. So it's orangish, but it's got a little bit of the complement in it that's altering it. And I could also make more than one version of it, but I'm just going to dive in and use this color because I kind of like it. It reminds me of what the sky looked like yesterday, this weird toxic orange. I will never forget waking up in the Bay Area and seeing that color sky. I'm not going to be super obsessed about painting my straight lines because I know I'm kind of a messy artist and I'm going to break out of the grid eventually anyway. But right now, I'm just kind of painting my boxes in. You'll notice sometimes I tilt the brush, sometimes I have it straight up, but experiment what works for you. And I'm just going to do one more color mixture for you guys, and then I want you to start. So the one that we didn't make yet is a shade. Okay, so over here I have black. So I've got my same orange. Let's make it into a shade. So I'm going to just pull a little bit from the side. I'm not smashing into the whole pile. I'm just getting a little bit. Mix a little bit in. See, it didn't take much and it's already altering it. And now it's like a more brownish color. So let's see what would happen if I paint the new one right next to the old one. Yep, it's a little bit different. So this is a way that you can kind of link colors together too by having like very similar ones next to each other. So your grid painting is going to start by filling in your boxes by sticking with the grid at first. Later, you can get more creative and start to alter it a little bit. But what I want you to do today is just work on this first step. See if you can fill in the whole board with just your colors. And then I'll record another video that shows what I do to my painting next. So that's what we're working on today. We're creating our grid painting. And let's go ahead back to speaker view. We're going to be working on our grid painting and then go to the next slide and you can see what are some of your other steps. You might get to that part too. Okay, so happy painting and add a comment onto this post if you have any questions. Okay, bye.